What's going on, Algebra Bros? It's Mr. C here, and in this video I want to take you through another example, in which case we will construct a combined function as well as find its corresponding domain. So our function f of x here is the square root of x, and g of x is x squared minus 25. And what we want to do is figure out what the combined function f over g of x looks like, and then its domain. So let's start with part 1. Alright, part 1. F over g of x excuse me, can be rewritten as f of x all over g of x. Now go ahead and replace f of x with the expression it's equal to, that's the square root of x, and then replace g of x with the expression it's equal to, and that's x squared minus 25. There's really no simplification that will take place here. If you're looking for something additional to do, the only thing you could do is maybe factor our denominator, which is a difference of two squares. X plus 5 in one set of parentheses and x minus 5 in the other. And that would be our combined function, f over g of x. On to the second part, where we find the domain. Let's draw a number line representing the domain of the function f. So capital D sub f is how I'll denote it. And let's take a peek at the original function f in the example. It's the square root of x. So here we want to avoid plugging in any negative numbers. So what that means is that the only values of x that we can use are those values of x that are greater than or equal to 0. So on this number line, I'll go ahead and put the number 0, and we'll shade to the right of it. That goes all the way down to positive infinity, and we'll put a bracket on it because we can include 0. Now let's graft up a number line for the domain of the function g. Now keep in mind, the function g of x is x squared minus 25. If we just look at that expression at face value, there's no possibility for division by 0, and there are no square roots, fourth roots, sixth roots, etc. So just looking at the expression x squared minus 25 at face value, the domain of g all on its own would be all real numbers. Let's look at the official domain now. That is the domain of f over g. Okay, so as noted in a previous video, the domain of any combined function is the intersection of the original two domains, that is the domain of f and the domain of g in this example, as well as additional values of x. Well, you take the intersection of the original two domains, but you must also exclude any additional values of x that would create division by 0 or negatives inside of even square roots. So if we just look at the intersection of the domain of f and the domain of g, the only part of the number line that's in common is that's from 0 to positive infinity. So you might think that that's our domain for this problem, 0, comma, infinity. But there's actually a little more to the story. If we look at our combined function f over g, our denominator, which came from the construction of f over g there, has some variables in it, namely the variable x, which means that there's a possibility that we could divide by 0 based on the construction of this function. And there are two values of x that would create division by 0 here. That would be x equals negative 5 and x equals positive 5. So what I'm going to do on this third number line is put those two numbers on there, negative 5 and positive 5. And I'm also going to include the number 0, which is based on our domain for f. Okay, so we have to keep all this in mind when we are finding the domain of our combined function. That is, we have to keep in mind what's in common between the original two number lines and also exclude any of those additional values. Alright, so like I said a few minutes ago, the intersection of the original two number lines is from 0 to positive infinity. So I'm going to start with that. That is, I'm going to bracket 0 and start shading towards positive infinity. But based on the construction of the combine function, we have to exclude positive 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put a parenthesis on that. And I'll open up another set of parentheses, or another parenthesis, to help me continue shading along the positive part of the number line there. So this is basically what it looks like when we're shading from 0 to infinity, but excluding the number 5. Obviously, no shading is going to happen around -5 because we still have to obey the domain of the function f, meaning we cannot use negative numbers. So what we have here shaded is the official domain for our combined function. Not only does it incorporate the intersection of the original two number lines, but it also excludes any of those additional values. Namely, it excludes the additional value of 5 there. That creates division by 0. All right, let's draft up the interval notation, bracket 0, comma 5, parentheses, union, parentheses 5, comma infinity. And that is the domain for our combined function. All right, let me know if you have any questions about what you viewed in the video. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.